Would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning from Japan. It's December 27th, so I'm a little bit in the future, and I have a good friend, Nerdporeal, with me to talk about Star Trek. Nerdporeal, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. He's actually called the Shuttlecraft Nerdporeal today. A very expensive Nerdporeal. How expensive are you? That's what I want to know.
It went really over, over budget to the point where it affected the rest of the Nerdporeals over the course of the first season, or the first episodes. No. That's what happened. So, don't you have a promo? Don't we have a promo to show?
Yeah. So what are we talking? We're talking the Galileo 7, which is Star Trek original series, of course, season 1 episode. It says on Wikipedia episode 16, but it's not, is it? What episode number is it?
Well, it's technically episode 14 if you include the cage, but it's actually, according to this book, this is episode 13 because it doesn't include the cage, the original pilot.
All right. It's so confusing with the numbering, isn't it? Basically, here's a quick wiki thing. It's in this episode, First Officer Spock leads a scientific team from the Enterprise aboard the shuttlecraft Galileo on an ill-fated mission. I'll stop there. So, Nerdporeal, you've given me a promo to play. Should we play that now and see what happens?
Yeah, let's play it.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Captain's log, stardate 2821.7. 7 of our shipmates still have not been heard from. Our normal searching systems useless.
Do you know what you've done? You've concerned yourself with only 7 people. You said something about a needle in a haystack. It's useless.
If they're not there, Commissioner, then they're dead by now.
We use virtually every piece of equipment aboard this craft in attaining orbit.
You mean 3 of us must stay behind?
Yes.
And who's to choose?
As commanding officer, the choice will be mine.
Mr. Sulu? Prepare to abandon search. Set course for Marcus 3.
Hot.
Well, that was awesome. That's a great intro to it. And as we were telling you, it's a very expensive episode. Was it the most expensive from season 1 up to that point?
I think it was. And if you're okay, tradition demands I read the NBC press release from December 20th, 1966. All right.
Take it away.
All right. The severely damaged shuttlecraft from the USS Enterprise threatens to become a tomb for its trapped crew after it crashes on a planet and loses contact with its mother ship in the Galileo 7 on NBC Television Network's colorcast of Star Trek, January 5th, 1967. Marooned and under attack by ape-like anthropoids, a landing party with Mr. Spock in charge faces imminent death when all communications are cut off. Meanwhile, in the orbiting Enterprise, Captain Kirk must decide whether to continue the search or abandon his men to deliver emergency medical supplies to a plague-ridden planet some distance away. Kirk's efforts to locate his missing shipmates have been hampered by a stellar occurrence in the region where the shuttlecraft Galileo was lost. The ship's sensory equipment is barely functioning, adding to Kirk's dilemma. Is High Commissioner Ferris traveling on the Enterprise with orders that the ship must soon leave the area? So, yeah, that's the opening. That is the opening of the Galileo 7. And yeah, this was a very expensive episode. They built the shuttlecraft for the very first time.
They actually built it. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So how that worked was, apparently, there was an idea. This was originally an idea. So remember we did Balance of Terror months ago?
Yes, I do.
Remember how remember how that we talked about how that was written? So some of these famous writers did was they took an idea from a famous movie or a movie from the 40s or 50s, and they're like, let's make it a Star Trek episode. Let's adapt into science fiction. So something from like outside the sci-fi genre. So this was an episode that was based off of an old Lucille Ball movie, where they crash, I think they crash onto an island, and then there's these natives, and
Lucille Ball. No way, that's a name from the past, isn't it? Yeah, classic.
I'm trying to remember what the name of that. Let me look and see the name of the movie's on here somewhere.
No worries.
It's called.
Just shout out Nosferatu. Oh, go for it.
It's called Five Came Back from 1939. Yeah,
Five Came Back.
Yeah, so this movie, Lucille Ball is in a rare dramatic role. It's about a transatlantic flight blown off course in a storm, then crash lands in a South American jungle known to be inhabited by headhunters. Repairs are attempted on the plane, but due to a lack of fuel, some of the 12 crash survivors may have to be left behind. So, yeah.
I Love Lucy was one of my favorite shows growing up. Says Nosferatu the Vampire. Great to see you, mate.
The show's hilarious. Like comedy, they knew how to write comedy. And heck, I was just watching myself. I was just watching Sanford and Son. Remember Sanford and Son from the 70s?
Nope.
Really?
We didn't have that in the UK. We didn't have I Love Lucy, but I did know about that. I'd heard of it. By the way, Nerdporeal, one more question for you. It's a Nosferatu question, so you never know what you're going to get with this, but here we go. Who would win in a fight, Kirk or Picard?
Well, it's funny because we just talk about Star Trek Generations.
Great question.
Because Picard got his ass kicked by, I mean, no offense to Malcolm McDowell, great actor, but he played a scientist. He played an Elorian scientist that lived probably hundreds of years, but still, Picard got his ass kicked in that movie. Kirk managed to get a couple of punches on him. So it definitely goes Kirk.
And it was hard to tell who was younger because Patrick Stewart has looked old since he was like 25, I think, and William Shatner, he's about 252, isn't he?
Yeah. I think
the oldest?
It's not even I don't even think there's a decade difference in age. Like they're really him and Shatner and Patrick Stewart are really close in age. So.
Okay, nice one. Just shout out to, is it Yusan G? How you doing? It's been a while since I've taken in one of these live streams. Well, great to see you. All the best for the festive season and Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. All the best to you. Nerdporeal, there's a Sanford and Son marathon on YouTube, I think, says Nosferatu.
So you never heard of Sanford and Son? It's a 1970s show starring Red Fox. He owns a junkyard with his son.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, and every time somebody says something mean to Fred Sanford, the star, to Red Fox, he's like, "How would you like one across your lip? I ain't afraid to give you one across your lip." You know, like that show is full of catchphrases.
Speaking of Patrick Stewart, and this is the reason why I've never heard of Sanford and Son. Nerdporeal, this is for you.
I don't know anything.
I don't know anything. I'm sorry, I just don't. Anyway, should we get on with Star Trek? Because we're here to talk about the Galileo. I've got to keep saying Galileo 7. That's why my name is Magnifico, by the way. Magnifico. Oh. So I want to get your thoughts on, here we go, let me share. This character who comes into the episode right from the start. Who is he and what does he want?
Okay, well, that's High Commissioner Ferris, played by John Crawford. And you know what's funny? This is not the first. What's funny? I was a kid. I think I was 12 when I first saw this episode. So I didn't actually own this on VHS. Like I didn't own the physical copy of this. So you know how I first watched this? I stayed up late one night, summer. I was going between 6th and 7th grades. So I was 12, and it was on midnight. It was on at midnight, Saturday night, midnight / Sunday morning, and so. What I used to do is I used to have blank VHS tapes. I used to put in the VCR and record. I used to record Star Trek episodes whenever they were on. So like Saturdays at midnight or Sunday mornings, whatever you want to call it, they were like the highlight of my week back then. So that's how I first saw this particular episode. And what sucked was when I was recording it, I realized I ran out of tape like 3/4 of the way through the episode, so I had to get another VHS. I had to get another blank VHS, put it in really quickly, and resume the recording. So this episode was recorded on 2 tapes, with bits of the part where they're jettisoning the fuel missing. So it wasn't until years later that I finally watched the entire episode as a whole.
Okay, that's a good story.
But yeah, that's High Commissioner Ferris. He is the played by John Crawford. If I saw him, he was the mayor in the third Dirty Harry movie. I don't know if you ever seen the third Dirty Harry movie, The Enforcer.
Yes, it's a good one. I like The Enforcer. It's a real good 70s movie.
Yeah, so he gets kidnapped by the organization that's based off of the Symbionese Liberation Army, a bunch of left-wing terrorists. The left wing, based off of a left wing terrorist group in the 70s. They were really, William Randolph Hearst is the famous yellow journalist. Famous yellow journalism. I forget what I forget which newspaper he founded. But his granddaughter or his great granddaughter was kidnapped by these people, and she was the first, like one of the earliest cases of Helsinki/Stockholm syndrome.
Hearst,
So she ends up becoming part of them, even though she was kidnapped in the first place. So, so he gets kidnapped by the people, and then of course Dirty Harry rescues him, blows up the bad guy in the tower with the rocket launcher and that. But in this episode, and he wasn't put in until like later in the writing process because initially he wasn't, like, they put him in just to add to the stakes, like to give Kirk a reason to have to leave. To put the entire situation, their lives, into further jeopardy, to raise the tension. That's why he exists in this.
Shout out to Fiamona. Great to see you. One of the members of the Wakizashi Tea House Dojo, just like Nerdporeal. Hey, Gray, I hope the Christmas chicanery didn't leave you with a hangover. Only that once, mate, after the end of the year party, the forget the year party. Love that Klaus review. Yeah, Nerdporeal, whatever you do, I think you might have listened to a little bit. Don't listen to that whole review, because as that review goes on, my voice gets more and more slurry. By the end, I'm just like, talking like this. It's crazy.
That's why I literally said, hey, one of these days I want to drink with you.
We'll meet up, hopefully in Japan. I'll take you out with some friends. We'll go to a few bars, and we'll end up in a karaoke bar somewhere.
Oh, definitely.
Nosferatu would be so jealous. Nosferatu, you got to get over here as well.
But yeah, so he's the High Commissioner. So the reason why that the Kirk has to potentially leave. So there's a time limit here. So they have to deliver medical supplies, like a lot of Star Trek episodes they do. They have to go to this planet called Makis 3 in order to rendezvous with another ship that will take these medical supplies to a plague-ridden colony. I think they call it New Paris in this. So he's basically here to make sure that this is done. And then he right here, and this is going to be one of the few times where this gentleman is actually right. And he's like, Kirk, he's like, you know what? Don't do this. Don't send the shuttlecraft out to this Murasaki 312 phenomenon. I don't want to take any chances here. And Kirk's like, well, I'm under orders. If we encounter any type of quasar / electromagnetic, anything that has electromagnetic radiation that exists in this type of form, we have to investigate it and take measurements and whatever. So
I took this photo here, Nerdporeal, because this is weird. This is early on in the episode, and he's almost smirking at times. I tried to capture it. He's got like a little. So I thought like there was something going on with him, like maybe he had some kind of secret plan or secret agenda, but it turned out he didn't. He just wanted to get these medical supplies to the planet.
It's basically an "I told you so." This is basically an "I told you so" smirk, because Kirk, saying, "Hey, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be good. We're gonna go. We're gonna measure. We have 2 days. It'll be fine." And he's just like, and Kirk's just going through all this. Kirk is just everything's going wrong for Kirk. Like, he ordered these gentlemen to go into to basically take the shuttlecraft Galileo and to go and to explore and take measurements on this this phenomenon. And I like how in this new version, in the older version, they didn't do this. In the newer version, when they go into outer space on the planet, you see the green effect all around the planet. Like, so in the original episode, the planet itself was green. That's because that's how it was back then. You had a red planet, you had a brown planet, you had an orange planet, you had a green planet. So here it's a normal planet, a gray planet, barren, but it's got the green effect around it. So when they're going into space, you can see. And I thought that was cool.
I was really
that they
curious to see
that.
to see the original special effects. I'd love to see the original episode before it was, as you say, touched up and made better. But yeah, anyway. Despite the time, as you say, it was a high budget on this episode. So the Galileo 7, this is the 7. Here they are in the shuttlecraft, aren't they? Interesting selection.
You know what's funny? If you watch this, you know how they make those short treks? You know how they make those short treks now, and they're garbage. Well, yes. I could see them doing short treks back then with this crew. So every now and then, Spock will take the crew of the shuttlecraft Galileo to explore, to find something. So like there was an episode where, remember the episode where they find Abraham Lincoln in space? You probably don't remember that, but there was literally an episode where they find Abraham Lincoln sitting on his throne in space. So what about so maybe they'll find another historical figure, and that historical figure will give them advice, and then they'll encounter the alien that's projecting this historical figure, something like that, something fun.
Yeah.
And I really like this. I really like this dynamic of 7 right here. Obviously
it's a nice mix, isn't it? Of it's only one woman, unfortunately, but there's a black actor there as well, very diverse for back in 1967, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, like you had so this was so that's obviously we have Spock here. And then the guy sitting next to him, that's Latimer. He's the navigator / pilot. And then, of course, the yeoman here is Yeoman Mears. Originally, it was supposed to be Yeoman Rand, but around this time she was already canned from the show, so they had to replace.
The yeoman.
Yeah,
very good looking actress.
Yes, and then of course the man behind Spock, that's Lieutenant Bulma. He's played by Don Marshall, and and so Don Marshall actually had quite a he was having problems with the director of this episode. The director of this episode was Robert Gist. I don't know how his name is properly pronounced, but like Robert Gist had his own. He was a new director. He's only directed a handful of episodes of other TV shows, and this is pretty much the only Star Trek that he's actually directed. So. And Don Marshall behind Spock had some issues with the director. The director wanted him to act a certain way. He wanted him to act like freaking James Dean. He's like, really? Yeah. And Don Marshall's like, hey, I'm a scientist. I'm an astrophysicist. Why do I have to act like James Dean? So he went to Nimoy and he asked Nimoy to talk to the director. And so here's an interesting thing about this. This is not the only case. Shatner and Nimoy had a little bit of some star power dealing with some of the directors and some of the directors and producers here. So in this case, Nimoy went and talked to Nimoy went and talked to the director Robert Gist on behalf of Don Marshall, and Don Marshall was able to act however he wanted to act. So that was something. So yeah. So sometimes the stars kind of looked out for some of the other actors. However, the guy that we just talked about, High Commissioner Ferris, Shatner was kind of bullying him. He hated his role. Shatner was kind of bullying him. That's why he was standing.
Shatner bullying Nerdporeal? Really?
Yeah. Like Shatner was acting like the de facto director there. And I'm not saying. I mean, he's the star of the show. So, but the reason why he was kind of standing, still. High Commissioner Ferris, John Crawford was standing a certain place was because Shatner was telling him he can't move. He has to stand here. He has to stand there. The directors will tell you where to stand, where to be, and all that on the bridge. And so he just hated the role, and he went to because he worked with the director, and the director's like, "Hey, it's the Shatner. I can't do anything about it. I don't want to make enemies of the star of the show."
It's the Shatner. Yeah. Nerdporeal, let me shout out. We got Leia Rose in the chat saying hello to you and me. Also, Morning Haze is here, looking very good. Great to see you. They were saying, Spock's mother looked nice because Nosferatu was asking for the hottest chick in Star Trek. I have no idea. It's hard to choose.
You have what's her name? Helen Noel from The Dagger of the Mind. Remember that episode?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
We have her. We have, Yeoman Rand, obviously, that to the point where young Charlie just spanks her. Oh, we haven't done that one yet. There's literally an episode where she gets spanked by Charlie. It's such a funny awkward scene right there. But yeah, who else was there? Every actress. Gene Roddenberry liked his. Gene Roddenberry's like, I want the beautiful women. I want He liked
his women beautiful. He liked the skirts to be very, very extra mini skirts, and he liked And
Nichelle Nichols.
Nichelle Nichols. Wow.
Can you imagine wearing an outfit like what John Crawford's wearing right now? And I swear I've seen that they've reused that outfit several times.
At one point, you can't really see it clearly, but he's got a kind of mini cape, hasn't he? It comes to just below his elbow there.
Yeah.
You see it when he's walking sideways at one point.
Yeah, you do.
So strange. So we got the Galileo 7. Basically, they get stranded on that planet, don't they? They're stuck there.
So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of electromagnetic radiation that's being emitted from this phenomenon. And
crash land, don't they, Nerdporeal? Crash land on the planet.
So right here, Bulma is basically saying once we went to forward momentum, the momentum just the speed and the Murasaki effect just pulled it and increased the momentum geometrically. So it went, like they shot like a projectile. So I don't know, how are they still alive? Don't know. But
don't know.
But enough damage. So they didn't want to like show like a whole lot of damage. You do see some damage in the interior, but not too much for budgetary reasons. But hey, at least Bulma got a bloody nose right here. So somebody got injured.
I love the choice of the word Murasaki, by the way. The Murasaki. Do you know what that means in Japanese?
No, I don't actually. What does it mean?
It's got a simple meaning. It's a color. It's purple, but it's also, it used to be used as a name, like very maybe classic, long time ago, as a female name, like Murasaki. There was a famous writer called Murasaki. So there we go.
Oh, really? Because like if it's purple, then why didn't they make the effect purple? Why did they make it green?
I know. It should have been Midori if it was green, but hey, what can you do? This is turning into a Japanese lesson, Nerdporeal. I would say the most beautiful Star Trek fan is Godporeal, says Nosferatu, the vampire. And here's Dempsey. How you doing, Dempsey? Good to see you, mate. Slange to you, Slancher.
So I have to ask you, Gray. You have to tell Angry Canadian why he should keep watching the original Star Trek.
Because it's so much fun, and for this just one reason, this episode, Spock, you really see the logical side of Spock, and he does a great performance. That really stood out for me in this. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah,
really, really good Spock episode.
Yeah, this is his first command, so this is his first mission as a commander, and he has to. The main plot of this episode is Spock undertakes his first command on a mission, and he has to deal with life and death situations, and despite the fact that he tries to act as logically as he can and as humanitarian as he can, things just don't work out the way he expects. And let's just say his lack of emotion gets his crew on edge, and that's why especially characters like Bulma start getting restless, and like the rest of them would just feel there's resentment to him. And initially I was like, when I first watched this, I was just like, these everybody's so freaking insufferable to Spock. But then I'm watching it now. I'm like, I understand now. I understand why they feel that way. And this is back when shows were written well. Even though the show, there's still some problems with this, but no show's perfect. So.
For me, it's the performances, it's the characters, it's the dynamic, that takes a bit of time to build up. We're only on the first season here, but, it's such a refreshing change, Nerdporeal, because like you, I went through Picard Season 3 after hating the first 2 seasons of Picard. I thought it was kind of okay. I didn't understand all the hype for it, but then we come back and watch one of these episodes, it's like, To me, there's a huge difference. It's so much more, I don't know, human. There's more feeling in this. There's more fun. You know, I think they take it more seriously as well.
I think there's a lot more values there's a lot more, like you said, it's very, it's something that I think majority of people can relate to. Yeah. And that's, and not just, and so like, that's why I always say that Star Trek is nonpartisan, despite what, some fans may say on X or, you know, social media. So.
I know. I like the way that they have I don't know if I call it military values, but you know, the command, the order, that kind of thing. That's very important in original Star Trek, that's been lost, isn't it, in the modern stuff? People like just talk back to the captain. You know, they talk nonsense, don't obey commands.
Like the Strange New Worlds episode, like the Strange New Worlds series, feels like a fraternity or, you know, bunch of college kids in space. Yeah. Like on an internship. That's basically what it comes off as. I'm like, this is supposed to be TOS era Star Trek, where 23rd century, you know, they're going by general freaking quarters. I mean, come on. I mean, space is not fun. Space is hazardous. Like, you have to know what you're doing if you want to survive out there. You have to have skills. Yeah. I mean, you have to be really good at your job, and you have to know how to work together with people.
Yeah, it feels like they've lost the fundamentals. They've lost what, you know, made it good. But back to this episode of Nerdporeal, I tried to get a good shot of this. It was really hard to get the first appearance of the inhabitants of this planet they try to crash land on. Can you try and explain this picture? It's so bizarre. It kind of made me laugh. This.
So originally, here's the fun thing. So these are these are the dangerous inhabitants of the planet that Spock and the shuttle crew crash on to add, you know, to danger, to give it a little more, you know, to add some jeopardy, some tension, and all that. So these are giant anthropoid creatures, very ape-like. What's funny is they actually had shots of this was a 7-foot actor in like he's wearing in a costume and all that, and the mask and the costume was deemed so scary that this went through quite a bit of censorship. Like there were shots of the face that they didn't want to include. So you never really see the face of this. There were shots of you could see the face of this ape creature, but they did away with that. And the other thing that they had to do was they had to add fog to hide the body. So the first guy that gets killed with this big giant spear, I mean, they didn't want to show the dead body with the spear hanging out, so they put fog in there to kind of cover that up.
Yeah, that's right. They did that. Let's see if I can. Do I have a shot of it? This is after he gets speared, and then there's quite a cool phaser attack here going on, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing and this is something that Don Marshall brings up. He never worked on a science fiction show before. But they do shots like this where the actor has to stand perfectly still when they're aiming the phaser, because that way they can line up, you know, they can in post they can add the effect, the optical effect, and have it match, you know, where the have it match where the phaser is, where the position of the phaser is on the frame. So what's funny is I was watching this earlier, and there were points where like they couldn't quite match up the center of the phaser to the center to like there's a little thing that sticks out that's where the phaser emits from, the beam emits from. So
that's cool. Let's have a look at the spear as well. We've got it here. Spock has picked it up. That's a big looking spear.
Yeah, I mean, 10 to 12 foot ape creature. Yeah, and then so here is like, so there the whole thing really, the animosity between him and especially Bulma really starts when they crashed on this planet, and the only way that they can get back, they can even achieve an orbit, is they have to lower the weight by 500 pounds. So they have to lower the weight by 500 pounds, and that's like basically, according to this episode, the size of 3 grown men. I think it's, well, maybe less than that. Most, I mean, unless everybody's 160 pounds, which is, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been 160 pounds since I was 13 since I was 14. So, so
Nerdporeal, we've got a rare sighting of a purple Valkyrie in the chat. Great to see you, Purple. How you doing? I've got a little clip just for you. This is for Purple.
Your lord and master is getting up. On the wrong side of the bed.
Okay, good to see you. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas, Purple. And yeah, let's catch up very soon. So, oh God, Spock, yeah.
So Spock is basically just passionately saying, "Hey, people are gonna have to be left behind." And Bulma's like, "Well, how are you gonna choose? We're gonna choose lots or something?" He's like, "No, the decision will be mine. I think I'm more capable of making that decision than just the random drawing of lots."
Based on pure logic.
Yeah, and that's what really starts this. And then, of course, here his reaction to the death of Latimer. So obviously he's taken this giant spear out of Latimer. You don't see the body because of the fog, because of censorship. And he's looking at it, he's like, hell, this is like early era something. And Bulma's like, for real? Like, there's a man lying there dead, dude. And you're talking about stone spears? Like, what the heck? What about him? What are we gonna do? we're in deep shit. And
so you got
Gaetano
the humans
right
who are
here
reacting emotionally, of course, and you got Spock who's just keeping very logical. It's like, okay, he's got to work it out. What do they do next?
Yeah, and then Gaetano's there. He was with the guy. He was with Latimer when Latimer got hit by the spear. So what? Dumb decision. So if you know that there's hostile creatures, or if there's something wrong, don't stand out in the open like that. Don't stand out in the open like that, because that's what Latimer was doing. He gets up on top of the ridge, the mountain, the hill, and he's standing there, and they're standing still. I'm like, were you waiting to be killed by the spear? I mean, they didn't know that they were, I think, spear wielders, but still, I wouldn't stand in the open. You don't know what that was. So
another great action shot there of Spock using his phasers to scare these creatures away. He doesn't want to kill them. That's the point he makes, isn't it? And they're going, "What are you talking about? We've got to attack. We've got to kill them." He's like, "No, I think we have to preserve their life. Let's just scare them away."
Yeah, we have to preserve their life. We have to, friendly or not, basically. And yeah, right here he's shooting at one of them with the shield. So you see the shield. So did you get a clip of the shield falling down to see how big the shield is compared to him? Even though it was just,
I don't think I've got it. Let me check.
Even though it was just the optic. It was just like, they just shot the shield really close to the camera to make it look bigger compared to them.
I didn't get it. I thought they were going to use it as a kind of, pick it up and use it as a shield themselves, as a cover to escape, but they didn't, unfortunately.
The way it looked too heavy for them to carry it, even though it was just a normal shield. So,
shout out to Daork. I don't know if you know Nerdporeal. Daork is in the house. Hail all, just came to say hi. I love you all. Nice to see you. Fear Monarch. Set phasers to fun. Exactly.
I'm telling you, Gray, it's not life as we know it. Not life as we know it. Not life as we know it. I'm telling you, Gray, it's not life as we know it.
I thought we came in peace. Shoot to kill. Shoot to kill. Shoot to kill.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow. Starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow. Jim. Yeah, I must have heard Star Trek and Across the Universe so many times. It's so like every time I hear it, it just makes me laugh. Just like, who thought that was a good idea?
No idea. There you go, Purple. Thank you. Okay, where are we? Let me get back. The next photo is, again, I tried to get them in, Nerdporeal, the giant fur coat that we're wearing here.
I was watching this, so once again, so somebody throws a rock at Gaetano. Gaetano is so they left him behind. So they did their little scare thing, Spock, Bulma, and him. And Spock and Bulma were like, we're gonna go back to the shuttle. You stay here and stand guard. And if you've seen enough horror movies, you've seen enough slashers, he's dead. He's goner. He's a goner.
He's gone. I love the way they do it, though. He comes slowly. You just get his reaction. You don't see it, of course, because of censorship, but he's just like, like that. And
then you hear him scream. I was like, when I first saw this, I was like, whoa, shit, But what's funny is, so how he got disarmed was one of the creatures threw a rock at him One of the creatures threw a rocket, hit his hand, and he lost the
Yes.
phaser in the fog. He lost the phaser in the fog on the ground. He couldn't find it, and he tries to climb. He can't climb because he got his wrist hurt by the rock, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm screwed."
He kind of gives up, doesn't he? But I've got a point I want you to address here from Sub Commander Tal, Nerdporeal. Interesting that Spock is conflicted about killing the aliens. When he solicits opinions from the crew and McCoy says, sounds logical, Spock agrees, but nonetheless doesn't want to take life.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Spock Spock doesn't want to do violence. He's a scientist, and it's just like everyone else is like, where we want to survive, we have to do something about these creatures. And then he assumes, and this is the thing that gets him in trouble later on, he assumes that they're going to react rationally and logical by respecting their superior capabilities. And McCoy's like, because even though they agreed with it, they're like, well, didn't you consider, you're the commander, didn't you consider that they might react with anger, with emotion? I mean, like, it's like they said, they're pre-tribal, they're pre-tribal, so they're like a loose association of groups of anthropoids, basically. So the intelligence probably is not quite there.
It's not there. I was so disappointed we didn't get to see their faces, Nerdporeal. What a shame. We don't really get a clear view.
You know what's funny? Going back to Gaetano being attacked like by like that, I have so many. I'm curious what happened.
Exactly.
Like things that rhyme with drape. I'm thinking the worst possible shit. And one thing that Spock does say is it's better to burn in orbit than to be casualties to these creatures.
Oh my god! Because he finds him like this, doesn't he? And it's not clear what's happened. He looks okay. He looks intact for one thing, but I guess he's dead. Is he?
At least he wasn't turned the other way, because it would just with
a huge tear in his trousers, shall we say? Very British word for it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What did they do to him? I'm assuming they just strangled him. I mean, if you want to the PG-13 route, they just strangled him. Okay, maybe not PG-13, but still.
So Commander Tal, this monster actually looked great on a 15-inch black and white TV. I used to have one of those old TVs in my bedroom like years ago. Yeah, they used to look really good back in the day. I know what you're saying. So, okay, after this. So we got this great idea from Scotty how he's going to get them off the planet because they've got no fuel. He asks for, is it Scotty's idea to get the phasers of everybody, use the phaser power to somehow spark some fuel or spark the shuttlecraft? Yeah,
so apparently Scotty came up with a way. We don't know exactly what that way is, doesn't matter. He came up with a way to convert the energy from the phaser to a fuel source. So they ran out of fuel. That was their biggest issue. So there's the weight issue, and then there's the fuel issue. So he starts draining the phasers, and draining the phasers takes time. So it leaves time for all these other things to happen. Like, for instance, this creature, this anthropoid, is basically attacking the shuttle. It's a 7-foot guy, so the shuttle's. I think the shuttle's like, I forget what the exact dimensions are, but yeah, Matt Jeffries. So did I say how the shuttle came to be made? Because they were like, they didn't want to pay the budget for this. Would went beyond the budget. So there was this one company. I'm going to see if I can find the name. Sub Commander Tal will definitely know. But they basically there's this one company that wanted exclusive rights to make the Enterprise models, and this was even before this is roughly around the beginning of the show. Like they were filming this one when the Where No Man Has Gone Before and Naked Time were being aired. Those 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they basically got this one group to this one company to basically fund them making an exterior version of the shuttlecraft, the shuttlecraft Galileo, and a smaller version which they use for all the space sequences. So that's how they got. So then they said, okay, if you do this for us, you get the Enterprise model rights, and then you get the rights to make models for the shuttlecraft Galileo. And they're like, done.
Galileo. Sorry,
Galileo.
Keep wanting to do it.
So I first heard Galileo. I first heard of Galileo because of this episode. Before I even read up on the scientist, the mathematician Galileo.
Oh yeah,
Galileo.
Yeah.
Galileo. I forget how to pronounce
Galileo Galilei. Okay, look at this. This is a great shot. I managed to capture Scotty. What is he doing here, Nerdporeal?
He's electrifying the outer plates because that anthropoid is destroying the shell with a rock, with a paper mache rock. So you know how much that rock, that paper mache rock weighed? Like a pound. Maybe not even a pound. So
hey, Blair, love his space gloves. Yeah, they are awesome gloves. Look at those.
Yeah,
great to see you, mate.
See ya. They had so like Nimoy's so like they threw like that they threw that AMT. Okay, Sub Commander says it was AMT model company. That I was talking about.
Ah, nice one.
They're right out of Arizona. Yeah,
Arizona, cool.
What's funny is that information is also in my Star Trek encyclopedia too. Something I completely forgot about.
Ooh, Nerdporeal, look at you with the Star Trek encyclopedia.
No, I'll go get him.
I've got a little clip where you're doing that. This is how the episode ends. It's not a spoiler, but I really enjoyed this scene. It surprised me because I don't remember that many scenes of Star Trek where you get this. Here we go. Check this out, Nerdporeal. Here we go.
Are you not willing to admit that you demonstrated a purely emotional response? No, sir. So I'm curious if that was real, if they were really laughing, or if it was all like just them acting.
I know. I'm sure. And what was it? He says, Mr. Spock, you are a stubborn man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I thought I was going to say thank you, Captain, but he doesn't. He's like, yes, sir. It's so Spock. But yeah, I can't highlight how good this is as a Spock episode. If you like the character, do check this out. If you've not seen this episode, ladies and gentlemen, it's really, really, really good. Where are we? So great to see Blair to Blair. Merry Christmas to you. I hope you're feeling much better. I hope you're recovered now, mate. Salty shouting everybody out. Nosferatu, lots of liquor and profanity. Okay. Freer Monarch, the Enterprise went through an intergalactic weed cloud. Maybe it did. At some point. Where are we? What's after this? Oh, here we are trying to lift a rock that gets thrown at Mr. Spock.
Yeah, that paper mache rock that weighs a pound. That weighs not even a pound. And so they had to do a lot of acting. So look at the acting. Look you think Nimoy wasn't really in a lot of pain right here. From being
leave me, go
back. So right here they're trying to bury Latimer and Gaetano. So another big moment of what do you call it, what's that?
What's the word? Levity? No, not levity.
Not levity. Resentment. Another moment of resentment was when he refuses to let them bury Latimer and Gaetano, and they're like, hey, you're the captain. You're supposed to be the one to give a few words. And Nimoy is like Spock's trying to tell McCoy to do it. He's like, no, that's your role. And so that's another thing that's another thing that comes off as comes off as inhuman. And that's another interesting thing about dealing with life and death as a Vulcan. So it was a very interesting thing to explore that. So
it was, and that's what, I really appreciated that throughout the episode. Great point here from Sub Commander Tal. The shuttlecraft origin story with AMT is a great bit of trivia. They never recorded any other opticals of the Galileo miniature after this episode. Every other appearance was stock footage.
Yeah, they didn't really want to do this one, even though they got quite a bit of like. There was a lot of like. Roddenberry liked the idea to do this episode, and heck, Stan Robertson, their contact at NBC, the one that basically. So remember I talked about Stan Robertson? He was the NBC executive that Roddenberry and the Star Trek production was in contact with at NBC to. They would basically run scripts by him, see if they worked or not, and sometimes he usually gave really good feedback. He was actually really, even from the very first draft that was written by Ben Crawford. He was originally he was really excited. He wanted an action adventure episode that people would tune into, and so he was with it from the very start. So
okay, and
then you have people like Bob Justman, the associate producer. He's the one that goes over the scripts and he's like, oh, we can't afford this, we can't do this is stupid, or he was one of the hard asses when it came to like Kirk wouldn't do this, something that current critics get called names for being, like they're like, Kirk wouldn't do this, Spock wouldn't do this, what's this, because especially when you're dealing with writers who are not as familiar with it as who are not as familiar with the Bible, with the Star Trek Bible, as production, like Roddenberry, DC Fontana, and all of them. So I mean, Roddenberry was like, are we going to really do this? Are we going to really have to spend all this money? Because they have to build the flight deck, they have to build the shuttlecraft, they have to build, like I said, the exterior, the interior, and they had to build a model that would be used for all the space sequences. So that cost them quite a bit of money. So Roddenberry ultimately decided to do it, and then they used that opportunity with AMT or something to have it built, because they were going to use them they were going to use it in a future episode, the Menagerie two-parter. And the Menagerie was put earlier in the list in the airtime, because it was supposed to be what you call an envelope episode, where they took something that they already made and made it a story within the story. So they took the Cage, the original pilot, and they made that a story within that story, which I do want to. That's definitely going to be a future episode of.
Definitely. I've got speaking of stories, Nerdporeal, I've got a little story for you here, and it's a picture. Is it a picture tells a picture says 1,000 words? Is that how it goes? Just let me share this, and I'll tell you why we have this awesome photograph of Mr. Scott. Here we go. Now, look at his hair here and look at his eyes. What do you think he's looking at here? Are you ready for this? This is one of my favourite shots from the series. Wow, I know it's so grey, isn't it? I'm just a dirty old man, but look. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, is this the best shot of the stream? Please let me know. Let me know in the comments.
I can tell you exactly what's going on. They're lifting off.
Yeah,
they're literally lifting off.
After being hit by this rock, and I think she was knocked off her seat, maybe, or was she knocked off by them lifting off?
She was. I think she just jumped out of her seat and was so surprised. She jumped out of her seat and surprised that we were moving. So she's like, "We're moving," and Spock turns around like, we could be very. He's like, this is too soon. We might be back where we started. We gotta see.
I'm moving too," said Mr. Scott, and so did Graham.
Something is lifting off, indeed. Yeah, of course.
That's awesome. Oh dear. Attaboy, Scotty, good old Scotty.
But yeah, all Scotty did was he was just laying down, fixing the ship. That's all he really did. Yeah. And so he actually, one thing Doohan actually reminisced or talked about this in retrospect. And he's like, this was the first time he did a one-to-one scene with another actor, or he did one-to-one scene with Leonard Nimoy with Spock. So, but yeah, Scotty was one of the few that just didn't harbor the animosity. So everyone else was just giving Spock a lot of shit. Scotty didn't say anything. Scotty was just there to do a job. He was just there to fix the ship. And when there was one point where Lieutenant Bulma does go too far, when he brings up the importance of a burial, he's like, I recommend a burial even if it was you. And then McCoy reacts to it. He's like, Bulma, you're going Bulma. And then Sky's like, that's enough. And I was like, yeah, Scotty. Yeah, that's James Doohan, World War II hero, survivor, his freaking finger shot off, based James Doohan.
Yeah. This is my last photo, by the way. I didn't take any more after this, but I just love this scene of them all kind of, the surviving 5 members, the Galileo 5, not 7.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad, isn't it, Nerdporeal, that they lost 2 members, and then they're all laughing at the end. It's a kind of weird finish to the episode.
It is. So I like how Spock is just baffled. He's like, they should not have responded that way. And McCoy is just like, look at DeForest Kelly's face right there. He's freaking livid, and he's the one that
expression.
He's the one that he really yells and tells him, like, did you ever consider that they might have emotions, that they might react in an emotional way? So
exactly.
Yeah. You know what's funny is originally in the very early drafts, it was supposed to be Kirk going down on the shuttle, and Spock was supposed to stay behind in command. This episode is one of the few times that Kirk stays on the ship. Kind of like how Picard always stays on the ship and Riker commands all the away missions and all that. Well, this was a very very weird exception here. So Kirk was on board the ship the entire time, outside of the action. But originally, Kirk was supposed to be in the action, and Spock and McCoy were supposed to be on the bridge. So he was supposed to be Kirk and a whole bunch of other people. And who one of those? So they originally had different names for the different crewmen on the shuttlecraft. You know what one of the names was originally?
No.
Finney. Remember Finney? Remember Finney from last time?
Albert Finney? No. Oh my God! How can I forget Finney?
The one that faked his death and caused the court-martial.
Oh my! Of course it was
Lieutenant Commander Finney. Yeah. So
they distracted by the special effect here, Nerdporeal, with the people in the window. It's so cool.
Yeah, so they got enough energy. So they got enough energy to lift off. God. Oh, wait, actually, no, they didn't have enough energy to lift off. He turned on the boosters initially on the plant, and then they started going up, and that's when Yeoman Mares, jumps out of her chair. Here,
they couldn't break orbit, could they? They couldn't get out of orbit, and they're burning up, going back in.
So they had enough fuel to make maybe a couple of orbits and all that, but they're the Enterprise at this point had to leave because they were already looking. So they had 5 days. There was 5 days to the rendezvous, and it's a 3-day course to Planet Makis 2. So they had 2 days to do this little mission and be done with it. Well, they got lost, so that was the amount of time that was left over for Kirk to find them was about 2 days. So by the time they orbit the planet, the time is up, and Kirk is ordered by High Commissioner Ferris to abandon the search and to leave the Murasaki effect. So, but the thing is, he's like, we're gonna go at space normal speed. We're gonna go at space normal speed, so they're gonna go really slow. They're gonna take their time leaving the system. So Spock makes a gamble right here. He jettisons the fuel and creates a beacon. Creates a beacon going around the orbiting.
It's a great
planet.
idea. It's a great way to save them. Yeah,
and so it's so it's like this will, and because of that, they can only they went from lasting an hour to only lasting like 6 minutes. So, and they're like, Mr. Spock, what are you doing? Like, are you mad? And that's the whole thing is we as the viewer are supposed to be questioning: is he mad? Is Spock losing it and all that? And then Scotty figures it out. Scotty's like, oh, it's like sending up a flare. You know what? That was a good gamble. And Spock's like, man, there's no one out there to see it. But then
these effects, by the way, these look good, Nerdporeal. When was it remastered? Do you know roughly? Because we've got Fearmark saying. I think
2010.
I love the way the effects. They look like 80s music videos, but it's been done since that, hasn't it? It's been kind of the effects were, what do you call it, boosted, beefed up.
Yeah, and look right here. You see how you see the green effect around the planet right here. I like this effect right here. I like how they make the planet look so big Like they make the planet look like, you know, it's like a real planet, you know, like it takes up more than the screen. Awesome. Originally it was red, and in the original version, I think it was red light coming out of it. That's what they did for the effect originally. So,
nice.
But yeah, this looks great. I like it.
I really like it. Great finish. So that was it. Yeah, made it. They survived, fortunately, because their ship was burning up. It was about to explode, and Kirk beams them aboard just in time. Thank goodness they repaired the transporter. Phew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was the thing. So the whole ionization effect was keeping the Enterprise from locating them. So they were blind. They were completely blind. All their instrumentation was blind because of the ionization, and because of that. The only thing they could do was send out other shuttlecraft. So there was the shuttlecraft Columbus that was introduced. They went down and they actually encountered a whole bunch of these anthropoids, and they went through the same situation that the Galileo did. And we meet Lieutenant Kelowitz for the first time. And this is not his only appearance. Lieutenant Kelowitz was also in a couple other season 1 episodes. He was in Arena. He was on the planet with them when they were being mortared by the Gorn, when they were being mortared, you know, like that, you know, those mortars.
The Gorn.
And then he was in the other episode called The Side of Paradise, where they go to a planet where everybody is lazy and hippie-like, and they find out that these spores are causing people to be lazy and just want to, you know, just want to hang out on a planet and everything. So, yeah, so Kelowitz was in that one too.
Nerdporeal, we've got Jacob Ironside in the chat here as well, shouting you out. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping in, mate. Really appreciate it. And Dwayne Muth, good to see you, Dwayne. We're talking original Star Trek. We're wrapping things up pretty soon. So if you had to rate this, we don't normally do this, Nerdporeal, but if you had to give a rating of, say, how many phasers out of 10 would you give the Galileo 7?
I mean, this is a great episode with a lot of stakes. There's a lot of jeopardy. There's a lot of tension. This is a great Spock episode. We get some great stuff with him and the crew. Things to be critical about. You think Kirk would know better than to send the shuttlecraft, and that's causing all these problems. Because, like he says earlier in the episode, it's like a needle in a haystack would be child's play. So him sending, like, it's like, didn't they know about, like? I mean,
it was a stupid mistake, to be fair, wasn't it, by Kirk? It was a silly mistake to make. He should know better.
Because it's like they're required to. The episode tells you they're required to investigate these phenomena, but I'm sure there's been points where they've encountered. They know enough about it to know that these things are not to be trifled with. Going toward it. I'm assuming they knew about the ionization. That's why the Enterprise sent the shuttle. That's why they sent the shuttlecraft out there. The thing is, they didn't think that the shuttlecraft would, react. That the effect would react to their speed and have it act like a bullet. At least that's what Bulma posits. What happened to them? So, but that, and of course the fact that Latimer. I mean, if there's bad creatures, or people on the planet that are hunting you, stalking you, I wouldn't stand out in the open like that, especially on top of a high hill. That's that he was just waiting.
He was the cool pose. He was just like waiting.
Yeah. He's just waiting to be. He's just waiting to be impaled by that 12-foot, that 20-foot long spear. And you can, and then they use the same actor. They use the same stunt actor. So he's like and then you see a different actor fall. It was the stunt guy. It's the same stunt guy that was in Court Martial who does a lot of Kirk's fights. I forget the actor's name. But yeah.
So we're laughing here, aren't we? Shouldn't be laughing because the Galileo 7 became the Galileo 5. They lost two members of the crew, 2 crew members, and this is how the episode finished. I'm going to play it again. That's enough. That's enough.
I'm curious if Shatner was really laughing or if he was just he was acting. He's just acting. Yeah, Shatner was just acting there. So, Yeah, I'd like to, I would have loved to see I would have loved to see them do further adventures of the Galileo 5 or something. Maybe have the further, maybe replace those two, have another Galileo 7, 10 up, like a short, like a Three Stooges short, like 16 minute long short. They go on a little adventure. Kirk sends them out, and I'm giving CBS bad ideas right now, assuming that Kurtzman and all of them are listening to our stream right now. But the whole, but yeah, I mean, so Commander Tal says the whole, another big issue was the whole, needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, which is what makes Wrath of Khan so faithful and such a great follow-up and great send-off for originally it was supposed to be a send-off for the character of Spock, because it was basically what happens in this, how Spock is always, it's more rational to save 6 lives than one or something like that. So it was, and he just rubs everybody the wrong way by saying all this crap. So
because he doesn't have the emotional reaction to the crew member's death, does he? That's the thing. Because of that, that's always been a problem with Spock, isn't it? Well, that's how humans react to it. It's like, Mr. Spock, have you no feelings? He's like, no, it's not logical. So
yeah, and I know exactly what Commander Tells right here, because Kirk is having his own issues. Like, he wants to save the few. He wants to save his friends. He's like, these people are my friends, my colleagues, my shipmates, and I intend to continue the search until the last possible moment. And Ferris is like, you're procrastinating, Captain. So I'm going to be in command of this ship in like 27 minutes or something like that. And so he's trying to save the few when, like you said, they have to take these materials, this medicine to a plague that's being, that's killing a whole bunch of people, So
yeah, that was the original.
So that mission comes first before him rescuing his crew, which he was responsible for. So I mean, I totally agree with Commander Tal. Very great parallel, very parallel, but in opposite directions.
And Ferris, throughout the episode, he keeps reminding Kirk, of course, and he's basically giving him a countdown. So you've got that, added stress on top of Kirk's shoulders. He's worrying about, oh my God, I've lost the crew. Where they gone? They can't find them. They can't get in contact. And you got Ferris saying, okay, we've got to go in 2 hours, like 1 hour. So yeah, it was good. I like the way it developed. Yeah. Really
and red shirt treatment. There were no red shirts in this episode. Gaetano and Latimer were both wearing yellow or gold or whatever.
Hey, DJ Ronnie G as well. Great to see you, mate. That's awesome. Okay, we'll wrap things up. Nerdporeal, that's all right. So before we do, I want to give you a chance if you want to shout anything out. Have you got anything coming up over the next couple of days or the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm editing a video, The Boy and the Heron. That's the latest Miyazaki movie that came out. So I'm editing a review for that right now. It's going to be slightly under 10 minutes, so that I want to try and get done. And then, of course, Chillporial. There's going to be a Chillporial tomorrow featuring another native of Nihon, or Japan, as all of us English people, English-speaking people call it. Angry Canadian is going to come back. Part 2 of Chillporial. So we're going to be talking, stuff that he likes. And I'll probably be scolding him why he hasn't watched any more original Star Trek. But... yeah, we'll probably be talking like Halo, Nintendo stuff that me and him like, mostly video game stuff. So definitely they'll be tomorrow night, probably roughly 7 or 8 p.m. Central. I don't think I have the time down yet. I'll have to talk to him. So
okay, so do check that out on Nerdporeal's channel. That sounds good to me. Yeah, I've got no plans, mate, because family's my daughter's coming back later on today. I've got to go and pick her up in about an hour and a half at the station, so I can't wait to see her. The family will be getting together for the new year, which is, as you know, it's the big thing in Japan. But Mrs. Wakizashi's still sick. She's been getting over the Rona, but she's okay now. She's pretty much almost over it. So yeah, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling genki after talking Star Trek with you, Nerdporeal. So thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. I like doing these. I like learning, because not only am I a guest or co-host or whatever, but like I like the fact that these streams give me an excuse to learn more about the production of these episodes, and it's just giving more insight into Star Trek that I've never had before. So really appreciate it.
And I'm really enjoying, like I say, revisiting it. That's why it's rediscovering, because it's been years since I've seen some of these episodes. I didn't even remember this one. So, yeah, excellent. Okay, thank you very much for watching out there. Hope to see you in a future video. This has been Shuttlecraft Nerdporeal and Gray, Wakazashi's Tea House, Nerdporeal Lifeform, wishing you all the best. And remember, we come in peace. Shoot to kill. Where's my closer? What should I drop now? How do I finish this?
Sayonara, sucker.